welcome to GIA the podcast.
This is an interfaith podcast stemming from the Global Interfaith Alliance, an organization aiming to tackle fear with faith and curiosity.
We're your hosts, Fiza
and Harsha. We are so excited to welcome you to our very first episode. We'll be airing a new episode every other Monday, so let's jump right into it.
So who are we? What are we? What's going on here? Well, my name is Fiza, and I'm a Texas-based college student and one of the co-hosts.
And my name is Harsha. I'm an incoming freshman in college as well. We're both Texan, but the Global Interfaith Alliance, or the GIA, is of course global. We have members all over the United States, as well as members in Mexico, and are ever expanding.
Wait, back up. So what is the Global Interfaith Alliance? We're an organization that asks the difficult questions that we're so often shying away from. We're all youth of various perspectives and reside in different parts of the faith spectrum. That's creating more colorful conversation. Whether you're devoted to a faith or don't believe in it at all, this is simply a place to learn about different religions and see what's out there to learn about.
Well said. So let's get into our story a little bit. The Global Interfaith Alliance began with a local faith panel of a couple of youth at the Kari Siti Hanuman Temple in Texas. And the youth on the panel loved listening to each other so much that I began organizing weekly meetings so we could talk more. Soon enough, we were doing a national interfaith panel in association with Together We Remember, and that happened in April, and the organization has just grown from there. This podcast is an extension of and a peek into the conversations that we hold in the GIA, and we hope we can share that with the world and encourage you to discover the importance of conversing as well as listening.
So what is this podcast going to look like? How's it going to be structured? The podcast won't just be us. We'll have different guests in from different faiths. This could be people our age. We're both college students, people younger, a lot of global interfaith leaders and people who lead their community in their particular faiths. We'll bring in experts. We'll bring in people from Together We Remember. We'll bring in people so that you can be educated on different faiths from the people who have firsthand experience on it, so you can almost compare and contrast and listen to these conversations between us.
Exactly. And with that said, we did want to touch again on how important conversation is, and specifically how important interfaith conversations are. Interfaith automatically means intercultural, international, and the scope of learning just keeps growing. As Americans, we live among the cultures of the world in a society which isn't homogenous. So for us, understanding different faiths means understanding the people and their histories who live around us. For those of us who live in countries of one culture, it simply means that knowing that we are not the center of the world and we are just but one of many different colors in this human family.
So we want to encourage all of you not only to listen to our conversations, but to converse with the people around you. Conversations are going to start at this podcast, but we expect you to take that into the real world. You don't have to make your own podcast to have these conversations. You can always ask your friends and family questions to learn from them. At the end of the day, we're all just wanting to learn more from each other, whether it be people that we bring on to this podcast or people in your everyday life, because you don't know how much information is really out there just waiting for you to acknowledge it.
Yep. And I guess let's do a little bit of grounding. We have a passage that we are obsessed with and that we've read for quite a few meetings in the GIA. And we wanted to share that with you. And this is really just to ground us in the fact that we are a faith spectrum. There's anything, like Fiza said, from people who don't believe at all to people who are super, super faithful. So we just wanted you all to know how many paths there are to the one goal that we're all trying to achieve. So here's the passage. But when he was a boy, he was seized with the tremendous idea of getting truth direct. First, he tried by studying his own religion. Then he got the idea that he must get the truth of other religions. And with that idea, he joined all the sects, one after another. For the time being, he did exactly what they told him to do, lived with the devotees of these different sects in turn, until interpenetrated with that particular ideal of that sect. After a few years, he would go to another sect. When he had gone through with all that, he came to the conclusion that they were all good. He had no criticism to offer to any one. They are all so many paths leading to the same goal. And then he said, that is a glorious thing, that there should be so many paths, because if there were only one path, perhaps it would only suit one individual man. The more the number of paths, the more the chance for every one of us to know the truth. And that, I think, is the embodiment of what we're trying to achieve in this podcast, and of course, what we're all trying to achieve in our own homes.
Thank you, Harsha, for that beautiful quote. And on that note, that's it for the GIA podcast for today.
Congrats, you made it to the end of the pod. We appreciate your support and thank you for listening all the way through. If you find yourself wanting more interfaith content, you can find us on Instagram at Global Interfaith Alliance, or you can find our website in the episode description. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.